Links to everything will be in the description below. The first step to set up the functionality for our attack state is going to be to open up our enemy prefab, and we need to add a point for our attack to happen. I'm going to make it happen at the tip. So I'm going to create a empty child. I'm going to call it attack point. And then I am going to come over here and give it a tag so it's easy to see. And we're going to move it towards the tip. I'm going to right click down here. I'm going to create a script following the same naming scheme. I'm going to call it melee attack. Once the script loads, the first part we need to do is put in our variables. These are all going to be serialized fields, private variables, except for one, that track all the information we need for our attack to work. We're going to need our attack point, the point that we just created. We're going to need an attack range, the range of the attack, damage, attack speed, how often we attack, layer mask, enemies to hit, and a private float attack time that keeps track of time for our timer. That way we don't just attack every frame. A layer mask is a way to determine what type of things we want to interact with. So if we select any object in our game, they all have this layer over here. We're going to want to use the enemies layer for our enemies. We'll click yes, change children. Make sure to do that inside of the prefab. And then we want to do the same for our player and put it on a player layer. If you do not have these layers already, the way you add one is you go to add layer and then you just type them in. Make sure though to go back and select it on your object, because otherwise it will not automatically assign it. Back in our script, in our start function, we are going to want to subscribe to our event. So we're going to go to our melee enemy. We're going to, much the same that we did for our on move call, we're going to want to do a public action on attack call. We're also going to want to set up the same setup down here where we say if our on attack call is not equal to null, we're going to do our on attack call. Works the same exact way. It's still an event, still an action. It basically says, hey, to anyone who's listening, I want to do the attack now. So we need to subscribe to it in our melee attack. We're going to get our melee enemy on attack call component and subscribe a do attack function to it. The reason that we can do a get component call here is because, again, it's on the same object that our melee enemy script is on. Do attack function is just going to be a quick cooldown timer. The way it works is if the time.time, which is the current time since we pressed play, is greater than or equal to attack time, we're going to increase our timer and then do our attack. To walk you through how this works, at the beginning, attack time is going to equal to 0. So no matter what time the enemy is going to attack, it'll always be greater than 0. So it'll happen the first time. Then it sets the new attack time equal to our current time plus our attack speed. So if our attack speed is 1, in another 1 second, we can attack again. Then it calls our attack function. The way we set that up is also pretty straightforward. We are going to use our physics2d overlap circle all to do our attack. Physics2d.overlap circle all outputs an array of colliders. So these are colliders on anything that is within the circle. So because of that, we created a collider 2D array. We're going to call it enemies to damage. And then we're going to set that equal to physics2d.overlap circle all. It requires a location, so where is our circle originating from? Then it requires an attack range, which is the radius of the circle, and then a layer mask, enemies to hit, which is which enemies can we hit. After we do that, we set up a for loop that for each enemy in our array, so each possible thing to hit, we will do damage to it. For now, we're not going to set up damage. We're just going to put this debug, but this is where you would put in damage. We'll go over that in the next video. There's 2 more things we have to do. First is our onDrawGizmos function. What this does is going to draw a circle that indicates to us, as the developer, what the range of our attack is. So this just takes in our attack point position, or where we want the circle drawn, and the range of the circle. The next function we need is our onDestroy function. You always want to have an onDestroy function paired with your start function whenever you are subscribing to events. And it's going to do the exact same thing, except we are going to do minus equals our do attack. So we're going to save this, and then we just have to plug it all up. So I'm going to open up my enemy prefab. I'm going to attach my script. I'm going to give it the attack point. I'm going to set my attack range to something. I'm going to go with 2, so it's nice and big. And you can see over here our range indicator. The way to get it to show in your game window is to select this Gizmos tab over here. We'll set the damage to 0 because we haven't implemented that. We'll set our attack speed to something like 1, and then we just need to select player from our dropdown. And we're going to go back to our scene. We're going to hit save, and then we just need to test it out. I'm going to click down here so we can see our console, and you can see that our guy is patrolling correctly. When I press the down arrow, he's going to switch to his attack state. And now, if I move the player inside the radius, we're going to see our do damage is going to be called once every second for however long we are inside of our radius. If I leave the radius, it stops getting called. If I press the up arrow, he just goes back to patrolling. And if I walk into this radius while he's patrolling, you can see that our do damage number is not increasing. I hope you found this video interesting. Please comment below if you have any questions, hit the like and subscribe buttons, and I will see you in the next one.